Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's stream. I want to talk about Python skills for data engineers. Python for data engineers is a big topic. I myself coming from the Java world and transitioned into Python, and I learned that it's very important. So I want to talk about in this session about the 8 important skills for data engineers. Hi, everybody. All right, I already see the first people here. Hey, Francie, Turgul, hi. So it works great. I got to this because I want to create a course in my data engineering academy for this. Why? Because people were asking me, Andreas, if I want to become a data engineer, what data engineering skills do I actually have to have? Python skills, I'm sorry. What Python skills do I need? I had a course from a meet in the academy, which was like a Python 101, like the absolute basics of Python that you need. And then I thought, okay, or I had the problem. People were asking me more about that, and I had to send them basically to external resources. And the problem is when sending people to external resources is that you get down this rabbit hole, which Python is. There are endless things you can learn in Python that you can do. Then a lot of people got then into the data scientists recommendations and so on. So I decided, okay, let's take this into my own hand. Let's create a course, especially for Python, for data engineers. What I think is important. We actually did a stream before that where we were talking about the topics that should be in there. I expanded this a bit. So here are the main topics that we're going to look into. So let me bring up the course page here. By the way, is everybody all right? I see a few people here. Hello, Anne says hi. Hello, Anne. And NS. Hello, NS. Hi. Also somebody on LinkedIn. Akshay. Hello. So, by the way, whenever you have questions, just let me know. I'm going to answer your questions that you have. So, let's get into this. There are a few topics in the course that actually I'm talking a bit about a few more because I needed to make the transition from the first course to this. But a few important things, and I'm going to go over each of them that I find important are, we can also go down here. Logging is very important. Then working with timestamps, date time in Python is a very important thing, but that you have to handle. I struggled a lot with working with dates. Sometimes it's very annoying. The whole JSON thing, unit testing, of course, and pandas. A lot of stuff in pandas. Requests is important, that you can work with APIs. And then I have something about databases. So these are things that are very important. First, the logging, date time number 2, JSON number 3, pandas 4, actually unit testing 5, number 6 is JSON validation here, and then 7 and 8 is working with APIs and working with databases. Very important topics. Now let's go through each of them, and let me know in the chat if you have questions. I'm going to get to the questions in a second. So first of all, I was thinking, okay, here's classes, modules, exception handling. That's something that is very basic. Logging is something that is super helpful for a data engineer because you're creating your code, whatever you're deploying this on AWS, or you're creating a Python script that runs within a Docker container, or just a simple Python script that runs somewhere and gets scheduled. You need to know what's happening with that program. Very often, it's beneficial that you go in, and they say, okay, I'm logging out how many values have I processed? How long did that take? Was this successful? Stuff like that. And then take this, put this into a file, or if you're if you're a bit advanced, put this into a database. That's something that is very important. The logging part, that you actually know what's going on and can keep track of everything. Exception handling actually fits to that, because um, you want to manage your process, and you don't want to have exits that, yeah, that you're not controlling. So you need to have some kind of exception handling. Let me quickly do one thing here. I want to add here. I want to, so you can see my big mouse cursor. Okay. So logging is one big thing. As I said, the next big thing is datetime. There's the datetime library in Python, and it's very important. So you can go in and you can say, okay, I'm um, I'm having timestamps, and the timestamps can have different formats. Can be sometimes the years comes first, then sometimes the day comes first, then you have certain delimiters within it. Sometimes it's a colon, sometimes it's a forward slash, and this way you can say, okay, I'm having the timestamp, I'm formatting that as a timestamp in the right format, I'm using that, and I'm processing it as a timestamp. That you can say, okay, I'm changing time zones with date time. Something is very handy to actually work with times, because this is going to be everywhere. It's also with logging or with APIs that I mentioned. It's all the time. Then the main thing, one of the main things, is JSON, the big JSON package, where um, where I split this into two things: JSON and JSON validation. JSON basically is whenever you get data in. Very often data comes from APIs or data comes from logs. You're also going to store the logs in JSON. You're going to work with JSON formatted messages or JSON strings, because JSON is so nice to work with and it's adopted everywhere. And the second part, what I mentioned, validation, is it's so nice to validate. Not just is this a valid JSON or not? Does this fit to my schema that I envisioned? So these are two very important topics for data engineers: JSON and JSON validation, because you have to think that wherever this data comes from, this might be faulty, this might be problematic, and it's not good to have some data and write some data that is problematic down the pipeline. You need to make sure this fits to the schema, and therefore JSON validation, two super important topics that I worked a ton with. Uh, it's a great topic. I'm guessing a lot of you have already also worked with JSON before, so I think uh, that's something you can relate to. And then I have a big part about pandas, because like some people say pandas, Andreas, pandas. Data engineers work just with Spark nowadays. Forget about pandas. You should have taught about Spark data frames. I have something about Spark data frames. The thing why I put in here pandas is, if it's JSON, if it's data that's coming somewhere, sometimes you have to quickly look at data. You have to quickly work with it, and it's very easy to take something, put it into a pandas data frame, transform it, or join merge data frames, basically do SQL joins on these data frames to them, and it's very handy pandas. Also sometimes you have JSONs that are um, that are not flattened, where you have documents and then sub-documents in it, and there's a normalization function where you can say, okay, let's just flatten this pandas data frame. It's super handy to actually work with. That's here, the JSON normalization. So these are pandas are some very, very important topics within pandas: appending data frames, merging data frames, normalizations, having something like lambdas where you say, okay, I'm going through each line and I'm applying a function to each line. Really great, really great. Then so that's that. We're already at number 6. Number 7 is requests, working with APIs. Like uh, how can you use, and it's very simple. You use within Python, you use the requests library just for very standard requests that you're sending. You're sending a parameter set or payloads. You're sending that to a URL, to an API. You define you define is it a post or is it a get? And this way you can actually communicate with APIs, either get data from APIs or send data to APIs. People always think that APIs are this super complicated thing. The creation or the architecture might be a bit complicated, but the actual usage of APIs is super simple. And I have an example on this where we're using a few APIs. Again, super nice. Then one thing, I thought then at last, okay, at first, okay, let's finish this year off working with APIs. But then I was actually I couldn't finish it. It felt like there's something missing, and so I added in this something about working with databases, especially Postgres databases, because Postgres. Maybe some of you already worked with Postgres. Hey Joe, hi. Uh, and I have experience with Postgres. Postgres is, I think, it feels like it's the leading data. It's the leading database for especially open source that's out there now. So a lot of people use Postgres. It's amazing, and I basically in that course I quickly go over it and show you how you can set up your dev environment just with a simple Docker container where you have a user interface where you have your Postgres database. And then we're going through this, and I'm showing you how to uh, query data, how to bulk load data into the database, because bulk loading is something that is very important. That's something a few students of mine have already struggled through in the coaching, like to make this distinction. Okay, how if or to understand. Okay, if I have now this huge file, let's say you have a JSON file or you have a CSV file, and you want to upload this into the database, what are you doing? How can you manage that? And you don't want to go basically over each of the rows and insert them individually. There's a function for taking the whole thing and bulk loading this into your database, which is actually executed by the database and not on your client. So you tell the database, here, start this copy function, and then it's going to copy the data in by itself. Really cool. Yeah, I think these are the main things. There, of course, there's a lot more. If you ask Joe here, by the way, follow Joe. I was on his podcast on Monday. I had a really great time. I think Joe and a lot of you have more ideas of what is important for data engineers. Maybe I'm going to add more to this as the time goes. But I think that's a really good list of things to know, that the coming from the basics. Logging, how can you log stuff out? How can you basically use logging to your advantage? Working with dates for time series databases, for the logging stuff, for whenever you encounter a date. The whole JSON validation topic, pandas. I have a bit of NumPy, but that's more of a side thing. And then working with the APIs and working with databases. Yeah. So with this, I basically, for me, from my side, that's something. If you know that, if you have these basics, then you can go on and then you can apply this, and you have a foundation to improve during your data engineering journey. But with these two courses, the Python fundamentals and Python for data engineers, I think that's everything that you need, and to learn uh, data engineering. For me, it's super cool because now I don't have to send people away, and hopefully they learn the right stuff. It's Yeah. I'm guessing some of you have already gone that way of uh, basically going everywhere and getting stuck. Is that right? Let's say hi to a few more people. Let's have a few questions around that. What do you guys think about this? Hey, hello, Alfonso. Hello on YouTube. Hi. I'm fine. Really good. A lot of a busy day. Busy day. I decided to prepare this live stream. Oh, I always want to record videos, but I end up doing live streams because I want to have the interaction with you guys and gals. So let me know what's on your mind about Python for data engineers. I can stay here a few more minutes, and yeah, I'm wondering if the comments work. I hope the comments work on YouTube. What's in it? What is missing? Is there something missing? Yes, I always get lost, far away from what I thought I will target in about a month or two. That's why focus is so important. That you have to know what to look for. Otherwise, people are going to tell you from all sorts of directions what to learn, and you're maybe getting a book or something, and then you to deep diving into stuff that doesn't help you that much in the journey to become a data engineer, or in the later journey. It's maybe good for looking after it, or looking into it once you're getting that problem. But yeah, data structure and algorithm necessary for data engineers. Data structures, yes. Algorithms, not so much. Algorithms, I personally, I'm coming from the more raw data engineer, who's not doing a lot of analytics. I think very often you're doing a bit of like averages, like I said, maybe you have something in the pandas array and pandas data frame, and you want to get some some insight into the data. But like algorithms, like the scientist does, or maybe the analyst for business stuff, no, that's not the thing that is super important. When using Python for data engineering, is it best practice to use the default libraries, or should we feel okay using modules and libraries as dependencies? Yeah, sure. um, Load whatever you need. Sometimes you need, for instance, for MongoDB, you need something, and then you would get yourself, or pip install yourself the library for the module for MongoDB, and then you would maybe package this with your application. Uh, but you need to. This is something with this is a bit with dependencies. You need to be a bit weary of what's happening. You need to have a management then for, okay, which modules do I use in which piece of code, and to keep track of this. And maybe because you don't want to just use everything everywhere, like very different things, and not have not know anymore which program uses which dependencies, and that's very dangerous. So maybe limit yourself and not do the super custom stuff that somebody on GitHub builds, um, but usually you should be fine. Yeah. Following someone is very helpful. Yeah, that's true. You need if you have a helper, then that's something that is who that's very beneficial. A mentor or a guide who can tell you what to look for. That's why I have. That's why I put this into the academy. Maybe it's not, or most likely it's not me in person that is going to help you, because I can't help everyone. But this way, people have actually a direction to go for. That's why I do this, to make it easy for everyone. So this course, by the way, I released that. When did I release it? On Monday. On Monday, I put this online. Object-oriented programming, that depends on how much you do. I personally find this very important. Working with objects or creating classes and then working with them with custom classes is, for me, is very beneficial, coming from the Java world. So that's for me something that is very important. I learned it this way, and sometimes you have to use base classes like exception handling that I mentioned in the beginning, that I have in that course. Um, you need to understand, okay, you have a base exception class, and then you're going to create your own based on that, and yeah, use it as a template. Let's say a template. Um, so that's I I think it's important to actually keep this, and or to use this, because it makes it a lot clearer, and you can import the stuff as modules, and so yeah, it's very cool. Object-oriented programming. Are you preparing some course with Scala for data engineers? The thing is, with Scala, yes and no. So where do you use Scala? Usually, the only place where you're really going to use Scala is Spark. And you have to think of it this way. For me, from my point of view, Scala is getting more niche, more and more niche. So you can't just use it for Spark, or you most likely are only going to use it for Spark. And the Python stuff within Spark is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Not just because data engineers need this, but because there are also data scientists working with Spark and processing data, or beginners who actually know Python. So yes, Scala might be the base or the original language where Spark is built on, but the actual Python library or Python API for Spark is the one I personally would focus on as a learner. There are still some cases where you cannot use the Python and you need to use the Scala one, but I don't, from the top of my head, I actually don't know what is currently important, or currently missing. That's what I mean. Currently missing. All right. I'm looking here into my monitor for the comments. Yeah. Let me quickly plug the academy before I go. If you haven't seen this, so I basically, what I do full time now, or since for some time, is I'm uh, having my own platform, learndataengineering.com, where you can learn data engineering. And what I'm talking about here is the academy. And in the academy, I'm talking, or I'm having courses that are important to learn for data engineering. So hopefully this is big enough. Yeah, I think this is big enough for you. I'm going through basically through the basics, platform and pipeline design fundamentals. Then I'm looking through tools, or I'm showing you how to learn these tools like APIs, Spark with streaming and batch processing, Kafka. We work with document DBs like MongoDB, or I have a course on data warehouse and data lakes, lakehouse architecture. Platform pipeline design I already mentioned here as the platform pipeline design fundamentals. So 1, 2, 3, and then the big thing is for me is example projects. I want to show you not just dry how to learn data engineering, but also how our projects look for end to end. So here's the data, here are the goals. Let's create these pipelines. Let's use these tools, and I have that for AWS, for Azure. I'm thinking of doing something for GCP as well soon. And then I have the document streaming where we use Kafka, Spark, MongoDB, something time series database with Influx, or time series storing visualization with Influx, and Grafana. A Hadoop course we have. Now there are coming AWS courses. So a lot of stuff is coming. That's just a quick update here. Any more questions coming in? No. So then let's finish here the stream. Thanks for being here. It was a lot of fun. Next time, maybe a few more comments, huh? So I can answer a bit more of your questions. And yeah, have a great Thursday. Tomorrow is already Friday, and then we meet again. Next time, I'm going to show you a project that I'm actually currently working on, something with Elasticsearch and contact tracing. So, see you later. Bye. Oh, the kids are outside. Bye-bye.